My most humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Lord. Sai Ram to all. My son was now about 5 months old, and we were living in Trichur, a small town in Kerala. Since I had this bank job and I was a probationary officer, I did not have leave to come to Puttaparthi, bring my son for Swami's blessings. At that time, we knew of a yogini near my hometown in a place called Parapur. This yogini lived on prana. From the age of 13, she had not had any food. She just comes for a few minutes and stands in the sunlight, and that was the food that she had. And she only wore a sackcloth, she did not brush her teeth, she did not take a bath. And many people came to see her and have her darshan. So we all also used to go to visit her once in a while. This place was only a few kilometers from my home. So one time when we had come back from Puttaparthi and we went to see her, to have her darshan, immediately when she saw us, she said, "Why are you coming to see this amsham?" Amsham means partial being, when you have come from the Sakshal Chaitanyam itself. So she already knew that Bhagavan was the Purna Avatar, the Parabrahmam. And she said, there is no need to come and see me when you have already seen Bhagavan. But she called everybody Santanam, means child, and she would talk to us, listen to us, and often we had to have food there in that small ashram that she had. This yogini was also famous for renovating the ancient temples in and around Kerala. She would chisel the stones with her own hands. She has done many prana pratishtha of old dilapidated temples all over Kerala. So we often visited her, and we were very happy to go and have her darshan. My son was now 5 months old, and it was time for his Annaprasham. We could not come to Puttaparthi and we did not know what to do. So that day morning, I had a dream, Swami saying, "Don't worry about coming to Puttaparthi. Go to Yogini. Why do you think she is there?" So we decided to take my son to her. In her place, sometimes the women are not allowed to go in for darshan. So my husband, with the baby, all bathed and dressed in his little, what do you call it? The red loincloth. We call it konam in Malayalam, with all chandan on his forehead, all wrapped up in a towel. My husband and a friend of his decided to go to Parpur and have Yogini Amma's darshan. When they reached there, the Dwarapal, the guard at the entrance of the ashram, he came and said, "Sorry, there is no darshan. It has been more than 5 months since Amma has given darshan. She is busy carving the statue of one big pratishtha of Vyasa to be placed in the middle of the sea in a few months' time. So there was no darshan at all." While he was saying this and sending them back, Yogini Amma just came out of the door and she said, "Come, come. I was already said that you were coming and to receive you and do the needful for the little fellow. Come inside," she said. So Bhagwan had already given her the information that these people were coming with the baby's ceremonies to be done. So what she did, she sat down and she took the baby in her lap, and she told the inmate of the ashram to bring payasam, to do the annaprasham. This is the first rice feeding ceremony for a baby in the 5th month. and after that only you can give the baby solid food. So she got this paisam, and she placed it in his tongue once or twice, and then the baby was playing in her lap, and then she asked for some books to be brought, and that was also put on the little baby's chest. And then my son looked at her and he burst out crying, wailing at the top of his voice. And Yognama was smiling and said, "Yes, yes, you're crying. Now you have come on earth, come down from Kailas now for this worldly life." And she patted him and she said, she lifted him up in her arms and told his name in his ears, Kanakambar. And she turned to my husband and said, "Long name, you can call him Kanak, you can call him Kanak," she said. So it was like in that one ceremony that was supposed to take place, Yoginama did everything for my son, did the Annaprasham, did the Namkaran, and also, his Aksharabhyasam. All was done in that day morning. And this is how Kanak was blessed by her, and that is how he got his name Kanak. But this has also got a continuation story. A few months later, Yogini Amma attained Samadhi, and that day, the whole day, Kanak was crying and crying, and we didn't know. We thought he had colic. We took him to the doctor. The baby wouldn't stop crying. And then the next day morning, when the newspapers came, we read that Yogini Amma had attained Samadhi. So the little fellow knew that his guru had attained Samadhi. And years later, when Kanak came to Swami to join his primary school, one day Swami asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, Kanakambar, he said. And when he used to ask me as a child, "What is the name, what is the meaning of my name, Kanakambar?" And I used to tell him, it is those Kanakambar flowers that Lord Krishna wears around his neck. So this is what he thought. So when Swami asked him, he forgot, and he said, "Swami, lotus." So Swami just patted his cheek and he said, "Not lotus. Kanakambar means my robe." And in 1977, when this big cyclone hit the coast of Andhra Pradesh, in Machilipatnam and all that coastal areas, and it was a huge disaster. Swami had sent Sevadals with food, clothing, all kinds of provisions from Puttaparthi. At that time, one of my friend who was an Anandapur student, the girls were all given a lot of Swami's robes to be cut into baby frocks to be sent to this disaster area. So one of my friend, she had a small piece of Swami's robe left. So she cut it and she sent it to me. So she knew I was expecting at that time. So what I did was, with that tiny piece of Swami's robe, I made a little baby frock out of it. And when Kanak was born after his bath, this was the little piece of Swami's robe that was put on him. And when Swami asked his name, and Swami said, "No, Kanakambar means my robe." And Swami pointed to his robe, and he also said, "This robe of mine also means protection." So it was such a blessing, though far away, not able to see Swami when Kanak was born. And for 5 years after that, Swami still was so present in our life. Like for all devotees, there is not a moment that Swami does not show his presence in small ways and big ways. We are so blessed to have Bhagavan in our life. Thank you for watching. Please share with Sai devotees. Om Shri Sai Ram. Swami bless you all.